Hello and welcome to this Java tutorial. So in the previous video, we explored the primitive data types in Java. In that, we already got a glimpse of variables, right? As we defined different variables of different types. So in this video, we'll go into more details about the variables in Java. What is meant by declaring a variable and what is meant by initialization of a variable in Java. That is all what we'll see here. So when you declare a variable in Java, right, syntax for that is like this. You have a type, you have variable name, and you can give the value also. So this part is declaration, where you give type and variable name. So you are just defining the variable. Then if you give value also, that is initialization part. Okay, so together it is both declaration and initialization. Now, type here, if you see this type, it can be primitive data type also or reference type also. If it is primitive data type, that means it will be some primitive data type, right? Int, char, double, boolean. If it is reference type, then it will be a class name or interface. So user defined type. And variable name is the name of the variable. So that is the syntax for declaring a variable. Now let's see some examples of both declaration and initialization. So first we'll see here, then we'll try to code also. So declaration, if you see, you can just give, right, int age number, then end it by semicolon, no value. That means no initialization. So that is also possible. You can just declare a variable, double amount or person. So here if you see, this one is where you are using the non-primitive type. So person here you can say is a non-primitive type. So we have a person variable which is of type capital P person. Here person is actually a class. That is also you can do. We haven't yet gone to the class and object level. So we'll mostly confine ourselves to primitive data types right now for declaring variable. Okay. One other thing, if you see here, that you can declare two or more variable of the same type, where you can use comma to separate them. So this is also possible. Int age, comma, number. So two variables of same type. You can declare them in the same line using comma like this. Then if you initialize them, that means you are giving the value also. So int age equal to 30 and char equal to a. Generally, you will do both declaration and initialization in a single statement like this. But that is not necessary. You can declare and later initialize like this. So that is also okay. So generally you will do this if your variable's value has to be come out of some expression, right? Then you may do it like let's say amount equal to some other variable divided by 5, right? So this also you can do some expression also where you are deducing the value of amount using some expression. That is when you will use, first you declare amount and then maybe later you initialize it with the value. So now let's see some examples of defining variables. Okay, so let us create a example. So we can create a new class. Let's name it variables demo and check this also, so that we get at least this much structure here. Now, as I said, you can just define and later give it a value is equal to 50, right? Ages, and we, or you can do both, double D equal to 5.67, let's say. So here we have a variable which is declared as well as initialized in the same line. D is D. Now let's say I have another variable D1 that may use some expression D by 3, let's say, right? So its value is deduced based on the value of d, which is divided by 3. So d1 is d1. So that is how you can declare variables and get the values. So age is 50. Let's give some space, right? Age is 50, d's value, then d1, which is calculated using this expression. So that's how you can declare variable of different types. Some of these we have already seen in the previous video, where we already declared variable of almost every type, boolean, float, string also. So just more stress here on declaration and initialization part. With that, let us also do a proper example. So we already talked about that simple interest, right? Where you will at least need three variables to declare um, principal, rate, and duration. So let's try to do it. So while doing it, let's also move toward knowing the Java convention for declaring class and variable. So you do all that properly, following the conventions which are used by all the Java developers. So convention for class are when you are naming a class, right? Then use Pascal case, which means every individual word starts with a capital letter. So if your class name has more than one word, then every individual word starts with a capital letter. S and A, if you see, are capitalized in student account or order processor. Here also O and P are capitalized. And generally you use nouns for naming the class. So let us name our class also using the same convention. So class, we can name simple interest, where we can keep both S and I capitalized because these are two different words, simple and interest. Our class. Now these are conventions, not rules actually. If you don't follow them, you won't get any error. But mostly these are followed by Java developers. So your code, if you don't follow that, will stand out as a very badly written code. So try to follow these conventions, okay? Then for variable naming conventions, again for this, the casing used is lower camel case, where the first word is completely lowercase and every subsequent word starts with a capital letter. So if you have a variable which has more than one word, then you use like this. First word, if you see, completely lowercase total. From second word onward, first letter is capitalized. Item count. Same way, customer email address. First word, completely lowercase, subsequent word, first letter capitalized. So here you'll generally use noun or adjectives that state the intent of the variable. And this is one rule which you have to follow. Do not start variable with underscore or dollar sign. And try to give a descriptive name. Use single characters like IJK strictly for short-lived temporary loop iterator. Okay. So using these convention, let us go here and name our variables. So let's say principal, right? So we can name it principal. It has only one word, so all lowercase. Let's say 5,000. Then rate of interest may be decimal also, so double, and it has more words. So rate is all small letter, then of capital O, interest, and I'm giving proper names. Let's say 7.5. Then we have duration. Let's take it as whole number. 5 years. Then we also need simple interest, right? Simple interest, which will be calculated. So we can just declare it for now. Then we can use simple interest equal to principal. For multiplication, you use asterisk. So asterisk rate of interest and duration divided by 100, right? So that is our simple interest. Then we can just say simple interest equal to plus simple interest. Then if we run it, we get 1875 as our simple interest for 5 years. So we have 5,000, so divided by 100, let's say 50 into 5, 250, 250 into 7 will be 1750. That is one thing. Then 250, half is 125. So yeah, 1875. Right, so that will be our simple interest. So this is one example where we have used variables. We have also tried to follow all the Java conventions, which I will expect you guys to follow from now onward. Okay, as I said, if you don't follow, it is not an error, but everybody follows that. You should also follow, otherwise, your code will get bad reviews also. So, generally, in a project, somebody will review your code and they will give all the comments that even variable names are not proper or class name is not proper. So, follow these conventions, bottom line. One more thing about these variables is there are different kinds of variables defined in Java. Okay, so first is instance variables, also known as non-static fields. So these are, we haven't yet got to the level where you will understand them properly, but just to give you an idea, so there is an instance variable which belongs to individual object. That means you will create them within the class itself, not in any method. And every object will get its own copy of these instance variables. So for object also you use the word instance, right? Creating an instance of the class. That also means making an object. That is why instance variables means for that instance only. So each individual object will have its own copy, like student name in a student class. So if I create 5 objects of the student class, all of them won't have the same name, right? Each object will indicate a different student, right, with different name. Then we have class variables. These are static field. These are declared with the static keyword. So once we go to that part static, then you'll understand it better. For now, just know that these are class variables. When these variables are created, these are created at the class level. That means shared across all objects of the class. So here you may think of each object. So object 1, object 2 with instance, right? It will have its own copy. This will have its own copy. Separate. With this, you can think of like object 1, object 2. For instance variable, they will have their own copy. But there will be a static field. It says F static field that will be shared by each object. For example, school name in a student class. So name will be different, student name, but all of them will have the same school, right? So that may be declared as a class variable. So for this, only one copy will exist, which will be shared by all the objects. Then we have local variables. So these are the variables which are declared inside methods, constructors, or blocks. So they exist only within the scope of those curly braces. So your method start some method, right? That will have its own body, right? So if you declare a variable within this, that will have a scope from here to here only. Once you are out of this method, this variable will also cease to exist. That we can see. So here also, right? So as we talked that any curly braces creates a new scope. So I can create like this also. So now these variables are within this scope. Once I'm here in line 11, these variables are gone. That is why now I'm getting error here. Principal cannot be resolved to a variable because these are local to this part only, here to here. Though he won't create a block like this. So once we start creating more method, then I'll point it out that these are local variables. So for now, just remember that we have all these kind of variables. Okay, so that is about variables. There are some exercises which you can do about these variables. So this one we have already done. And in the next video, I'll discuss some of these problems. So you can watch that. Okay, so that is all about variables in Java. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.